Well, hi everybody. I'm Pam Almond, and first I need to apologize for those of you who tried to get on the meeting last night and weren't able to do so. For some reason, Zoom generated a brand new personal meeting ID instead of using my personal meeting ID, and I think maybe those that opened it from the link uh, got directed to a ghost meeting, and those who just put in the meeting ID got directed to the actual meeting. So, but my apologies. Who knows where the actual meeting went, but it's somewhere in cyberspace. I apologize. Anyway, and uh, though it was set up to record the meeting, for those of you who had emailed me that you couldn't attend and wanted a recording, it recorded the ghost session, unfortunately. So I'm 0 for 2 on Zoom. Um, So anyway, that's why I'm recording this. I just will boil it down to uh, a quick video in a nutshell. And if anybody has any questions that I didn't answer, please email me, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my really narrow little strip of knowledge. And spoiler alert, be aware that yesterday afternoon, the PPP funds were used up, basically. Um, some lenders are still taking applications since they're working on another appropriations bill, and I figured I'd go ahead with the Zoom meeting anyway for those who still want to apply, and we'll take our chances. So this, in a nutshell, is the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, it's called. We've established that I'm not a Zoom guru, but I want to stress that I am not a tax attorney. I am not a CPA. This information that I'm sharing with you, I got through an hour-long conversation with my tax attorney and a conversation with my CPA and a representative from the Small Business Administration who is administering this, basically. So with that caveat, the first notice of this program as being available for sole proprietors and independent contractors came through around April 3rd, I guess it was. And believe me, that publication was so dense that even the CPAs didn't really understand it. It wasn't clear as far as the loan forgiveness. It wasn't really clear at all for independent contractors. The loan application window opened for independent contractors and sole proprietors on April 9th, I think it was. And people were still so confused that the SBA came out 2 days ago on April 14th with what they call the interim final ruling, which oxymoron to me. But that ruling made a lot more sense. And that's why I talked to my attorney to, make sure that I understood it. The gist of it is that the government is offering loans to sole proprietors and independent contractors for 2 years at 1% interest with no payments for 6 months. But that could potentially be forgiven entirely if certain conditions are met. So here's the criteria to apply. And I'm only going to talk about sole proprietors and independent contractors, which most of us are. But if you have employees, and that's a whole different animal, and I do not know a thing about that. So if you have employees and you're applying for that, go grab a beer and do your own research, because I don't know. But here's the criteria for sole proprietors and independent contractors. Your business has to have been in operation as of February 20th of this year. If you're a small business, like I said, everything's different. You have to live in the United States. You have to have a Schedule C for 2019 from your 1040. You don't have to have already filed your 2019 taxes, but you do have to have your Schedule C profit and loss from business form filled out. You'll need to agree that the funds will be used as owner compensation replacement. and or to make mortgage payments, lease payments, utility payments, and a little bit more on that later. And that you will not, and you have not and will not receive another loan under this program, one loan apiece. You have to feel that, and I'll quote this, current economic uncertainty makes the loan necessary to support your ongoing operations. And now this is kind of nebulous. For me personally, and some of you as well, about 50% of my income comes from audiobooks, and 50% of my income comes from voiceover. The voiceover will take a hit. In fact, in my case, it already has. As I mentioned last night, I have a client who owes me $4,500, and she is waiting to get paid from, ironically, the CDC, who has not paid her in months. So she's really struggling, and she will not be able to pay me unless she uses this program also. So that part of my business is going to suffer. Audiobooks are a different case. And if you only do audiobooks, maybe I've seen an actual rise in business from the companies that have their own studios, which are now closed, and they're looking for people with home studios, which I have, being in Florida. So that's your question there. And on the Avatar's website, some people mentioned some like ethical considerations. Well, I'm not really hurt. Should I apply for this? And Ann Richardson weighed in on this, as did Andy Arndt. And Ann said that she had the same hesitation I did at first, and so did Andy. But they both thought it through and consulted with others and realized it might be prudent for the future. And as Andy said, if I don't need to use it, I'll use it to help somebody else who does. So maybe that's a rationalization, but you have to decide that yourself. So, okay, how much can you get? First, do your Schedule C on your 1040 and find your net profit for 2019. It's on line 31 of the Schedule C. And I think I said last night line 29, but it's line 31 of Schedule C. If the line 31 is over $100,000, just disregard. Leave it at $100,000 since that's the max you can use as your net profit. So I did an example just because it was fairly easy to calculate. But let me share the screen here, and I'll put this up if I can find it. Here we go. All right. So we're using for this example that your 2019 net profit is $72,000. Divide that by 12, and you get $6,000 a month would be your average net profit. Multiply that by 2.5. So in this case, $15,000 is the maximum loan you can apply for. You can always apply for less if you want, but $15,000 is the max you can apply for. So the rest we'll get, the rest we'll get to a little bit later, but the best part about this is, all right, let me start this over. I'll unshare this. There. Sorry about that. Let's go to the application. So you know that the most you can apply for in this case is $15,000. The application is really, really simple. It only takes a few minutes, actually. You can go to the Small Business Administration. You can go to SBA.com, Small Business Administration, SBA.gov to get details on it, and SBA.com to actually apply if you want to. You can also apply with your own bank. And sometimes this is a good idea because, banks may give a little bit of preference in the order that they review these to their own customers. And some actually won't let you apply unless you're a customer of that bank. You can also apply through PayPal. You can apply through Quicken, or QuickBooks rather, if you use QuickBooks for your software accounting. Federally funded or federally insured credit unions, A lot of avenues you can find, and I would suggest calling your bank first, and they'll let you know. So the most important part on this is uploading the required documentation. You can fill out the form. That's very easy. Just certify that you've been in business, that you were in business in February of 2020, and put in your net profit and the max amount that you are applying for, or not the maximum amount, the amount that you're applying for a loan for. Like I said, the form itself is easy, but the required documentation that you must upload is a little bit more complicated. And my advice, and my tax attorney's advice, was upload as much as you can that verifies the information that they need to use. So you can upload, at a minimum, your Schedule C. And again, you don't have to have filed your 2019 income taxes. But from the sounds of things, your Schedule C can't change. That has to be exactly as you're going to file it or as you've already filed it. Upload as many 1099s as you got in 2019. And also, in a lot of cases, some of your clients may not give you 1099s. Maybe you didn't, they didn't pay you over $600 or something, and they don't have to. But so I also uploaded a list of all my clients and how much they paid me, of all the clients that didn't send 1099s. This just, again, verifies your income. A bank statement or an invoice or something that says that you were in business February 2020. The more documents you upload, the better, I really think. I also included a P&L for 2019, a profit and loss statement. And if you have accounting software like QuickBooks, it's really easy to run a P&L report. I also sent a cover letter, just explaining, because nobody knows what voiceover is. Nobody knows how to handle it. But just so explaining a little bit about my industry, how we're paid, and how we pay independent contractors. And though that, how we pay independent contractors really has no bearing on it, but I wanted to kind of establish a chain that, yes, if we suffer, then our independent contractors suffer as well, the people that we give 1099s to, our editors, proofers, researchers, and all. The first draft of this program made it sound as if that was what they were getting at. It's not. People we pay are supposed to apply for their own PPP loan. So don't get hung up on that one. We're only concerned with the 1099s that we receive. Then you upload everything and wait and see if more funding will become available. There is an appropriations bill out there. It hasn't been passed yet. The people that I spoke with thought it probably would. And as I said, some lenders are letting you apply just in case and kind of get in the queue. So it would be a good idea to go ahead. It's an easy application. So, okay, if you get your PPP funds, what happens then? Well, they'll deposit it in a bank account, the same bank account that you have your IRS refunds deposited to if you get a refund, or you'll give them a bank account. Then, really critical, in the first 8 weeks after the money has been deposited in your account, you must use it and keep real good records, primarily for owner compensation replacement. That's basically your salary, if you will. You pay yourself. You can also use it for mortgage interest payments for business loans, business rent payments, car lease payments, if, for instance, you use your car to drive to a studio or something. business utility payments. And this includes lights, water, internet, phone, but only to the extent that you claimed it as a deduction on your 2019 Schedule C. So if you decided to use your home as a home office, and claimed that on your 2019 taxes, then you can spend that money in the first 2 weeks for the things that you wrote off as the home office deduction. If you did not, then no, you can't write off, or you can't use your bonus money, your loan money, to pay your utilities or lights or whatever. You can, but it won't be eligible for reimbursement then. So keep documents of this. Some people suggest putting your loan proceeds in a separate account so you can document that those withdrawals, that money is being used for owner compensation and the allowed expenses. So let's see. You should, document everything, and also document and keep the 1099s that you receive as well. I don't know if you're going to have to send those in. I don't know if those will offset anything, but just keep them just in case, which you probably do anyway. It's all basically, that's all there is to it. Worst case scenario, and after the 8 weeks, you submit all this stuff. You contact your lender, you say you're applying for the loan forgiveness, and they'll tell you what they want you to upload, basically, and you'll send all this stuff. And then you wait, and they'll tell you how much they're going to forgive. It sounds like it's a pretty done deal if you follow these rules. It's really a shame that they didn't nail down the specifics of the independent contractor language earlier, because the initial parameters were so confusing. A lot of people did not apply on April 9th when we were first able to do it. I didn't. It was just incomprehensible to me. So, and most of us figured it didn't apply to us. Now that they've clarified and simplified it as of two days ago, the money's gone, basically. So anyway, the worst case scenario on this, if you've applied or if you are applying and more appropriations come through, worst case scenario, if they didn't forgive a penny of it, which isn't going to happen because you're going to pay yourself, but just say you screwed up and you went out and bought a bass boat, or spend it on a vacation, or spend it on a new studio or something, that's not allowable. So if you screwed up totally and spent the whole loan on anything that's not forgivable, worst case scenario is that you have a loan for that amount for 2 years at 1% interest, and you don't have to make any payments for 6 months. So there are no prepayment penalties. So if you screwed up, you want to just, and you don't get any loan forgiveness, pay the money back. But again, it's a pretty good deal, a 1% loan. So anyway, there's no real downside either in going ahead and applying if your chosen lender will let you, or finding a place that will let you. And I know SBA.com does let you apply. My bank, Regions Bank, does not. So there are some changes there. So go ahead and apply, get ahead of the curve if the money does become available. And if nothing else, it gets you off your butt to go ahead and fill out your Schedule C for your 2019 taxes anyway. So your tax guy will love you. So anyway, that's about it. Thanks, guys, for listening, and all of you for joining last night to the meeting. Again, my apologies for the ghost meeting. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, Pam, P-A-M, at thecaptainsvoice.com, and no apostrophe, obviously. And if I can't answer them, I will. And if I don't have a clue, I'll tell you that too. It's out of my narrow frame of reference. And as of April 14th, the PPP interim final ruling is comprehensible and it is downloadable. You can find it at the Small Business Administration's website, sba.gov. But if you just Google it, make sure that the information that you get is April 14th or after, because that's the correct timely information, and that's the one that you can at least understand. But thanks again for listening. I hope this has helped a little bit. Let me know how it goes for you. I would be very interested to hear if you have success with it, or if you run into any roadblocks too, let me know. Thanks much, and good night, everybody. Take care.